Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today, we're looking at the Molotov. And I haven't really played this ship very much quite yet. I've gotten her a while ago from an event, I think, and never really got around to playing her. So today I did a couple of rounds, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about her. So let's go with this. The Molotov, named after a very famous, or rather infamous, politician in the Soviet Union during the Second World War and after, a certain Mr. Molotov. And you probably know him best for Molotov cocktails, which is a bottle of something flammable with a burning wick in it that you throw at someone and then it makes a fireball. That term actually came out of the Winter War, when the Finns were under bombardment by the Russians, or by the Soviets rather at the time, and Molotov here claimed that he wasn't dropping any bombs on them, but they were dropping food onto the Finns, which led then to the Finns to name these bombs Molotov's bread baskets. And in return, when they came up with the idea of throwing, alcohol in bottles that was going to turn fireballs at Soviet tanks, because they didn't really have anything to deal with tanks, they called this, the food to go with the bread, and hence the Molotov cocktail, which has become a little bit infamous since then. But the ship herself is a Kirov subclass. So the Kirov being the Tier 5 tech tree ship, she is very similar to the Kirov, but she's at Tier 6. She has a little bit better armor, allegedly, than the Kirov, and the actual Molotov had radar. She was the first ship in the Soviet Navy to receive radar, which means most of the war she's busy being in port somewhere, using her radar, trying to find out if they were going to be under air attack. Because another thing Mr. Molotov was rather infamous for was the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which was the non-aggression pact between the Soviets and the Germans, which, of course, the Germans immediately used to attack the Soviet Union, because screw them. Can't trust the Germans, really, can't you? So, where was I? Yes, air attacks. Operation Barbarossa. Lots of invasion of Soviet Union, lots of air attacks by the Luftwaffe. So the Molotov was rather busy using her radar to detect incoming raids, shipping troops, evacuating people, and occasionally shelling the Germans on the land. In the game, what does she look like? Well, let's have a quick look. So we're at Tier 6, and she is, technically not a light cruiser. You would technically say she's a heavy cruiser, because as far as I remember, the light cruiser definition comes out of one of the naval treaties, and anything up to 150 millimeter is a light cruiser. Anything above that is a heavy one, and she has 180 millimeters. But we get to that in a second. So, being a heavy cruiser doesn't mean she has great armor. She has okay armor, but it's probably just enough to arm the armor-piercing shells of battleships. So this is one of those things that doesn't get over-penetrated very much, and you gotta be careful with battleships shooting at you, but that's true for pretty much all light cruisers. She is relatively quick, with 35 knots. That's a good amount of speed. Her acceleration, though, is abysmal. And we had something to do about that, even to get down to 15 seconds. The turn time with 7.3 seconds is okay. She's not super nimble, but it's doable. Her main guns, 3 triple turrets with 180 millimeter main guns, which is an interesting caliber. It's not quite the 200 millimeter of the heavy cruisers, and let's be fair, the only so that would be the Japanese or the American heavy cruisers at this tier, because the Germans are still on light with the Nürnberg, and they're also a little bit bigger than the 150s. Which means you do have the same problem as you have with the 200 millimeters, that you actually have to know what kind of ammunition to fire. Because if she shoots at something, let's say like an Omaha, like an extremely lightly armored American cruiser, it is very easy to just overpenetrate the damn things, even at especially at closer ranges. And you're better off firing high explosive. The reload with 10.6 seconds isn't great, so it takes quite a while. And the turret traverse is even worse, but the range is decent with over 11 kilometers. She has torpedoes. Well, Yes, she does. But it's relatively rare that you actually get to use them. They're more like self-defense torpedoes, really, to prevent destroyers from rushing you, because you do have a relatively long reload on these guns. Or if you have targets of opportunity which manage to get themselves within 4.5 kilometers of a Molotov, then you can drop some torpedoes on them. But it's not a ship that you would use to rush something. Let me put it this way. So it's not like a Nürnberg where you can rush a battleship and then circle around them and drop 12 torpedoes into them. You can't do that in this thing because she only gets 2 triple launches. The AA is not bad for a tier 6, as is common with the Soviet cruisers, which is not something usually outstanding, but you can shoot the occasional plane down. Let me put it this way. And the surface detection is actually pretty terrible with almost 9 kilometers. So you will be detected pretty easily. For the elite bonus, I have chosen the elite gun operator, mainly because, well, the guns really suffer from 2 things. That's the reload and that's the traverse. And this helps with these 2 things. I could have gone with cruiser modernization and it would have totally been a valid choice because a couple more hit points can't harm. And a bit better AA can't harm either. But I decided to go full on the reload with this one, just because as a cruiser, this is really my main weapon here. And I need these guns to fire as quickly as they can. Which brings us to the modules in terms of equipment. Once it actually decides to work. Here we go. I have the main battery mod 2 in here for the reload. I would have loved to have the turret traverse, but I really want the reload, which is not so terrible. She has a good turret layout with 2 of the triple turrets in front, which means you can go bow in and still get 6 guns to bear, and you don't need to swing them around all that much. It's easier to swing the ship around. I would have loved to put the steering gear mod 1 into the second slot, but I haven't. I've put the propulsion mod in because her acceleration was so terrible that it's still not great. But if you're in a dogfight with a destroyer and you have no way to stop the ship, you're not in a good spot. You could play her as a kiting ship, right? You could play her at long range and just rain down high explosive and try to set things on fire. But more often than not, you've got destroyers to deal with, and there's no good being 10 kilometers away because you can't hit the buggers and you have a 10-second reload. So that leaves us with the last slot, and here the steering gear mod 2 is sitting, which makes sense. I could have used the speed, and I would have liked to use the speed, but she does need a bit of help with her traverse. So my choices, there are valid other sets. Depends on kind of how you want to play her. But I play her more like a light cruiser than a heavy cruiser. I play her more in support because also of the AA setup, and not so much on a long range sniping, kiting sort of play style. So, but she is suited for that as well, but you could use a different setup for that. The commander, I've borrowed him from the shores. So he has the expected skills in the first 2 tiers. He has the artillery maintenance in the 3rd. The actual air defense expert, because again, this is a common thing you'll find. So as a trainer, this is not a terrible ship for lower to mid tier Soviet captains to train, because while she doesn't have the precise aiming skill you get with the I think it's in the tier 7 that you get it, but I'm not 100% sure. She's still very viable with this setup. I've got the survivalist on here to get a bit more hit points because I am actually using marksman to extend the range of the duration of the precise aiming. And I've got exploit weakness because again, this is usually a setup for a kiting fire HE spammer sort of ship, which is not quite what she is. So, well, let's give her a go, shall we? All right, we're top tier, we're playing Golden Channel, and it looks like we're the only cruiser on our team, with a Farragut, a Hill, and a Nicholas on the enemy team. Yep, we are not kiting anywhere, we are going in the cap. and helping out and making sure that these destroyers keep their distance and stay out of the cap circle. And leave our battleships alone. So, if there were light cruisers around who could do this job, I might have gone for a flanking run, but and see if I can pull some ships back out from things. But with 3 destroyers and me being the only cruiser, no way I'm doing that. So off into the cap. I'm leaving the armor piercing on because at range they will do full penetrations against destroyers. I would even do that with 200 mils usually. And only switch over at about 5 to 6 kilometers into HE. Because that's when I'll usually start overpenning. Not so sure with the 180s because it's a bit of a lower caliber. Let's see if we can shoot something down actually. But yeah, like I said, tier 5, tier 6 AA isn't the greatest. Much more dangerous is carrier spotting. Okay, the destroyer was spotted for a second. Let's see if we get some hits in. Yeah, okay, that was a semi-pen and an overpen. That's a bit disappointing. But we've announced our presence, and the Farragut's probably thinking twice. He stops. And that looks a lot better. What we got? There's the hill, and there's the other destroyer. So let's just see if we can dissuade these people from coming over here. And getting anywhere into the cap and leaving our battleships more alone than they otherwise would. Because usually when the cruiser starts opening up at you, even if it's got a bit of a slow reload, so there we go, 6 kilometers, still a good range to do full pens with these 180 mils. But the 200s might have been already different, but 180s are a very strange caliber. Okay, now our team is not super keen to get into the cap. 2 of our destroyers are monkeying around somewhere on the outside. So we've dodged any potential torpedoes. Parting shot, can we get that Nicholas maybe? Let's see. Yep, there was a couple good hits, and we took out his steering. And there's a Furutaka. Okay, Furutaka's got torps, and I don't have a sonar or anything. Furutaka is a cruiser, so there I'm going with the armor piercing. Got a couple of bounces off something. And just being careful, nosing in and nosing out again. And try to recapture the cap, but at the same time also dodge torpedoes. And yes, if you're broadsiding my 180 mils, that hurts. Especially if you decide that you don't want to shoot me back, then, well, I'll take it. Okay, that's the Furutaka dealt with. Now, what's going on here? The Farragut and the Hill are doing a flanking run. And we're still not holding the darn cap. Okay, 6 kilometers, armor piercing. Oh, wasn't paying attention. We shot a plane down. Whee! Take two torpedoes, not too bad. He's getting closer, so I might actually have to switch over. There we go, that's a couple more hits in. 2 overpens, yeah, we're getting close. And I'm just gonna try to dissuade them from coming anywhere nearer. But I have to be a bit careful because I'm not super maneuverable. And that's under 5 kilometers, so we're starting using the high explosive. Yep, there come the torpedoes. And there comes the Hill, pointing at our battleships. So let's deal with the Hill. Let's see if we can dissuade him from coming anywhere closer here. Where's that Farragut going? Is that Farragut going after me? Or is he going after the Zoiho? Okay, we've got the cap circle. They're 2 ships down by now. They gotta make something happen. Gotta make something happen, boys. Yep, I've seen you. Okay, full on forward, just in case. And keep an eye on the Hill where he is. Farragut smokes up again. Is he round about there? Should be round about there, unless he stopped. No, I think he stopped. Okay, oops, sorry. I'm actually pushing you out of the way of torpedoes and taking 2 myself. That's the length I go towards protecting my battleships here. That's it. Okay, Farragut's like, screw that, I'm gonna go after the carrier, because, you know, carriers need to die. And the Hill's probably having similar thoughts, but well done, the Bayern, he's... Oh, oops! there's a New Mexico, hello! I have some torpedoes, I wasn't even paying attention. I legit didn't see that guy. I was so focused on chasing these 2 destroyers down and making sure they're not going after the Bayern, who's doing a really great job of getting into the cap circle. Okay, New Mexico killed the Bayern, which means that this Hill there is a bit of a problem, so I'm going to have to deal with that guy. While being shot at by a New Mexico, might I add, at point-blank range, which is not a great thing. Now, okay, if I want to keep shooting at the Hill, I need to turn in. I can't turn in because then I'm giving broadside to the New Mexico. So we have to kill the New Mexico first. Okay, that's his secondaries. That's his primaries. That's gonna hurt. Oh, 152 health. That's 151 more than I need, right? Okay, misses me with the secondaries. I need to kill this guy before he gets another salvo off because my damage con isn't coming off cooldown anytime soon. And I'm a one-shot kill for anything in this game. Hell, I'm a one-shot kill for the Farragut if he decides to stop chasing the carrier. So that New Mexico needs to die before he gets another salvo out. Okay, whew. That was that. And the Zuyo is playing Ring Around the Rosies with the Farragut, which is hilarious. Well done, the carrier. I mean, we're T6 and most people haven't realized that you can actually drive these things by then. Okay, heal up a little bit, so I'm no longer a one-shot kill for the Farragut. Okay, come here. Hello. And the Zuyo does an absolute stellar job of dodging that torpedo spread. Yeah, that's 3 dodged and 1 taken, and I'm gonna kill you before you get another one off. Because you were proximity spotted in your smoke, you were too close. And that's it. And that's the Molotov, and we win. So, what's that ship like? She's not necessarily an easy ship to play. She's basically a tier 6 Kirov. And while the Kirov is a pretty big monster at tier 5, at tier 6 she can be a bit of a mix and match. You definitely have trouble in knife fighting destroyers if they know what they're doing, because you're not super agile. She would be really well suited as a ranged kiting ship. Very well done, the Bayern, by the way. But oftentimes, in these tiers, you don't have the luxury to do that. But you actually have to get into the cap circle and you have to deal with destroyers. So, did I get a bit lucky there? Yes, I did. But other than that, she's not a bad ship. Is she a must-have? Is she overpowered? I don't feel like. At tier 6, you get into tier 7 games, and it kind of feels like you're getting outclassed in these games. She's not the easiest to play. And again, if you want to play her, you can as well just get the Kirov in the tech tree, which is a relatively similar ship, but plays at tier 5, which is, well, a big difference. So, an okay premium. I wouldn't pay money. I think I got her out of a box or out of some event somewhere. But yeah, that's her. The intro to the HE spammer long range line, pretty much. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.